So whether you're here in the space or you're at home, welcome very much. This is our Adult Faith Forum. And right now the theme is faith and leadership. So as we think about faith and leadership, today we have our trustees. And I'm going to tell you, you may not see them all online, but we have 5 trustees in the room. So well done, trustees. Well done, trustees. And I'm going to turn it over to you to tell us about what are trustees, what do you do? And I think that the faith question, why do you do it? So thank you for being here.
Oops. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, Neil.
One thing you can be sure about trustees, you can trust them.
Just spend money.
My name is Neil McInnes, for you, those of you who don't know who I am. And I'm one of 7 trustees that we have. And so we're going to try to this morning in the 45 minutes we got to explain what the trustees do and what the responsibilities are and some of the issues that we run into. So without much further talk from me right now, I'm going to turn it over to Dixon, and he's gonna we're going to pass out a little sheet there. Ken is actually.
Thank you, Ken.
Thank you, Dixon. And that's from the church constitution and bylaws, and that talks about the duties of the trustees.
All right, the Board of Trustees, one of our principal functions is to be responsible for maintaining and protecting the property, all of the property that you see here, the land, the buildings, all of that, as well as the assets that are within the building. And we're also responsible for our congregation's business and fiscal affairs. So we handle the budget, we manage it, we look for problem areas, we look for opportunities for revenue, just trying to make sure that we stay in good financial health. We don't have the ability to buy and sell and encumber real property, so we don't do that. We can also enter into contracts as long as they're 10% or less of the adopted current budget. So we have some discretion on contracts, but it's got to be a very low amount of what we can do. We prepare and present the annual budget to the council. We also ascertain the financial affairs of the congregation to make sure they're being done efficiently, effectively, ethically, all of that sort of good stuff. And we send a report to the congregation council. And we also implement our investments and our insurance program. And we'll be talking a little bit about some of the magnitude of some of the financial stuff we do in a little bit. So any questions about that?
One thing I might add to your comments regarding the budget, that does say in the Constitution and bylaws that the trustees are responsible for presenting a budget to the council. Well, that's kind of, the procedure has kind of changed over the years, because now it's more each board submits their budget to the council, and the council has kind of taken over that role of putting it together, and it's just more a change in procedure rather than anything. But technically, according to the Constitution, the trustees do have this responsibility for presenting a budget, but they have a lot of other stuff to do too. So that's one difference from what's listed on your sheet there.
Any other questions about what we do? That's a general overview. We do a lot of other stuff. We can tell you how many light bulbs are in the building and how costly they are and all that good stuff. We're going to get to that stuff.
Why we serve, that's part of this presentation, I guess the main point of this presentation. For me, I guess I was raised by my folks and parents to, if you're around some area or with somebody, or I was taught that you don't stand around and watch somebody else work. If you can help, you help. And that's been, that was rubbed into me at a very early age. So that's one of the reasons I help, but the other reason too is that we are, Patty, my wife, and I are fairly new members of Emmanuel. We've been here, I think, going on 10 years now. But I think we started coming here in 2013. And we have just grown to love this place and the people here. And so I want to do my part to keep it attractive and presentable and be good stewards of the resources we have. And so I'm fairly newly retired, and I have time on my hands, and I thought, well, sometimes I have a hard time saying no. But I look at something, I say, well, I could do that, you know, rather than hiring a professional to do it. And so, well, okay, we'll do that. I'll do that. Like I said, it's out of just wanting to be a part of the solution, and also the deep feelings that I have for this place and the people within it. And some of the people that I I would say look up to. There's other examples of that, the people that just pitch in and do what needs to be done. And not to point anybody out and embarrass them, but Audrey is one who is what I call worker bee. You know, they're there for whatever needs to be done, and they just do it with a smile on their face. And it's a pleasure to be part of a group of people that does that. And so that's the other reason I serve. So I'll let Kent and Dixon, any of the other, John or Dave, have anything to say about that. Go ahead. Kent.
Somebody really nice called me on the phone and asked if I wanted to be a trustee. Probably Scott, I think. And it was just almost impossible to tell you no. And so, but I can help, do some helping with the trustees. I got some skills from agriculture that I bring along. Neil had some of those, brought some of those too. So, yeah. And yeah, when the right person asks you, yeah, it's really hard to say no.
I'll stand up. I joined Emmanuel a few years ago, and one of the primary reasons is I kind of come in and out of my own spirituality, and I try to find my path and really understand, and my career has always been built on serving others. I used to investigate child abuse and neglect. I've worked in a homeless shelter. I've worked in a clinic that served underserved people. And I like to serve, and I'm in real estate, and when the market got really bad, I applied for the director of SACA, which is the food bank and financial aid center in town. And one of the things that impressed me is once a month, this huge truck full of food came to SACA. And I asked Dick Palmquist, who was a member here, where's that from? And he said, Emmanuel Lutheran, they do SACA Sunday once a month. I said, I like these people. And I came to one of the churches and I realized I knew probably 80% of the population and liked 79% of them. But what I really enjoyed about coming to Emmanuel Lutheran was the service ethic that they have. The auction where they sell beef and they send the proceeds to feed people across the world. And just the congregation is what drew me here. And Pastor Lee and I have had a couple of lunches, and she goes, wow, you really are messed up. I got to get you back sooner. She didn't say it like that. She goes, boy, you need help. But anyway, I was asked to be on the board of trustees, and the thing that struck me immediately, and I've done this in all of my business career, is ethics are not hard to figure out. It's not that hard to figure out what the right thing to do is. And what I really liked, I love the word trustee because it's built on trust. And when you have people that pick up the money from the altar and go count it and stuff, and you just know nobody's gonna slip a 20 in there because they need to get their grandkids something for Christmas. It's all a position of trust. And we're required to maintain the property, look at the property, and make sure that it's protected, manage our finances, and to be trusted to do that. And I sat for a couple of years trying to figure out where I could fit in, and with my background in business, I thought when I was asked, I think Scott mentioned, we had a conversation, I think Pastor Leah had a very penetrating call on the phone to me, and I could feel the heat coming out there from the trustees.
It's not heat, it's the Holy Spirit.
I'm hoping that the heat was from the Holy Spirit. Anyway, it was a no-brainer for me. The Board of Trustees is what really made sense for me, because you caretake, you look at how to serve, you look for opportunities to be helpful, and you look at ways to be trustworthy. And that's kind of what I did that for.
Dave or John?
Well, I'll just kind of echo these guys. I grew up in the church. You guys may not know that, but I was a little itty bitty, and my dad was a trustee, so I kind of followed those footsteps, I guess. Everybody has their strength. I'm no teacher, I'm not an administrator, but I can do handiwork and try to be ethical. I was a sports official for 30-some years, so I kind of know how to try to go down the middle at least anyway. So anyway, I just felt that's I have a strength. I think it fits the trustee mold. So
I think that's, Dave, you're comfortable with where you are, right? I would just like to point out that you guys are mentioning that there are different skills and stuff. And that's one thing about this board, I think, is we have a group of people. Martha Hazekamp is our female trustee, a token female. I'm sorry.
Niggle.
Okay. Some of you may know, I'm kind of a smart aleck sometimes. But I wanted to compliment the trustees on their abilities to get things done without having to hire it done. And that's one of the things we'll talk about a little bit more as we go along in the program here. But there is a lot of talent among the seven of us, and Dave Miller is a retired contractor, and so, you know, he knows how to fix just about anything related to a house or a building or whatever, except the dishwasher. But it's very helpful to have people like that to work with, and they're willing to chip in and help. So, in order to give you an idea of how big and what the duties of the trustees consist of, to put it in more practical terms, we're going to do a little question and answer session here. And we do have prizes. So I'm going to ask a question, and we're going to ask for whatever, you know, if you think of an answer to it, just pop it out, and I'll write it down on the board, and then the person that comes closest to the actual number or answer will win a lovely party gift.
From the lovely Bama.
I don't like the selection here. I won't throw anybody under the bus unless their first name's Dixon.
I already got my prize.
He already got his prize, his almond joy.
So, has anybody here, some of the newer people, maybe like Scott and Don, but been through the whole building, you know, upstairs and around all the cubby holes and stuff, and okay, well, hopefully this will be somewhat enlightening to you. So, the first question would be, how many rooms are there in this entire building? Everything under the roof here. 3 floors, got the basement, the first floor, and the second floor. How many rooms? The room would be a separate area behind the door. You want to take a stab at it?
52.
52.
I'm counting.
24?
You talking every door is a room?
I'm talking, yeah.
So bathrooms and all that.
Yeah,
right?
closets.
Oh.
Yeah, all up downstairs.
37.
35.
35.
Oh, okay. I said 37, you know.
I'm gonna go 42.
42. Well, our guest here. 51.
He was just after the candy.
No, you hand that to her because I'm not supposed to have that kind of stuff. I'm diabetic, so.
Okay.
She's my wrangler.
I myself was kind of surprised at that number because the way I did it was we have a blueprint of the building and it was for the sprinkler system, fire sprinkler system. And they showed each room and so I just went through and counted them. And my goodness, if you figure like the furniture room downstairs, nobody knows it's probably there. The Sunday school offices, or Sunday school storage rooms back in the corner in the basement. And then you go upstairs and there's janitor's closets and restrooms and a couple of classroom, just rooms back in the corner there. Not the high school rooms, but the meditation room and what they call the ASAP office now, back in the corner. And even this, as much as I've been around this building, the other day when I was doing this, I was walking around and I got back there in the corner by the meditation room and there was a door that goes into a stairwell. I went through that door and then I had to stop for a minute and think, okay, I go down these stairs, where am I going to come out? Where am I going to end up? I wasn't sure. So I had to walk down the stairs. I had to walk down the stairs to find out. So it's a big
It
place.
sounds like this would be a really good McMiniman's.
Yeah.
Well, if we can handle the property tax thing, we can make it happen. Next question. About how many square feet in our 3 floors? Building square feet, just under the roof here, the main building.
10,000.
How much?
10,000.
10,000.
You can't guess, Roger. You're at the meeting.
Oh, I know all the,
Yeah, John, you're
feet per
disqualified.
He's after
You're
the
just
candy
qualified.
too.
All 3 floors.
All 3 floors added together?
I'm gonna say closer to 35.
Closer to 35? Well, we probably don't need to have any more answers because it's real close to 35,000.
Yeah.
That includes the gym.
Wow.
About 10, over 10 apiece, yeah.
Okay, don't have any.
Thank you, sir.
Big.
Okay, then, speaking of area and how big this place is, how many, visualize the parking lot and all the flower beds and stuff. How many square feet, or actually you could do it in acres too.
It's easier.
How many acres is within our boundaries?
6.
Okay,
It's a pretty good guess. 2.
2. Okay, let's take one more.
4.
No even numbers?
Hey, farm girl, how many square feet are in an acre?
Oh, I don't know. I know. My family tells me all the time.
Oh, farm girl, how many square feet are in an
I got some
acre?
straight.
You want me to tell you my gambling analogy?
No.
43,560 square feet in an acre.
Yeah, I'm a silent partner.
Okay.
According to the property tax statement, it's 3.07
Oh,
acres.
so it's smaller than I thought.
Who's the winner on this one?
Dawn's the closest.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, the other thing that in a building this size, there's lots of stuff to take care of and also to clean. So try and come up with an answer. How many separate sinks in the building? You're trying to count them.
I'm totally counting them.
What's that?
12.
You can answer.
Let me guess.
What'd you say, Scott?
20.
That's what I was gonna say.
I think
I
12.
haven't even been all over.
Yeah, that's a lot. Jesus, 12.
Okay, well, Don, you're pretty darn close. 19 is what I came out with.
Well, 20 is close.
Scott was,
Yeah.
Scott was
close.
one. Oh, you're the one that said 12.
I said 12, yep. No,
Oh.
no, Scott.
Okay, Scott. Yeah,
I still have an almond joy, Scott.
Yeah, those are all yours, Dixon.
Okay, how about things, besides other things that need regular cleaning, how about the number of toilets?
Oh,
Some of our restrooms have 3 in them.
30.
30? The actual number is 22.
22?
I guess the kitchen ups the sinks
Yeah.
to the bathrooms.
Yeah, and there's the 3, well, down in the women's restroom on the first floor down there by the choir room, there's 3 sinks and 3 facilities. And upstairs you have 2 restrooms with 2 each. And then you have the other restroom that the office uses mostly. And then there's, in the basement, there's a men's and a women's restroom, so it does add up. And they all need to be cleaned on a regular basis. And the one out here by the elevator.
who's the winner on that one? That's,
Scott was the only guess.
well, you got, 3 kids. Well, there's 5 people.
Instead of sharing. No, you have to share.
I'll see.
And Jeff.
We should play this game with the Sunday school kids.
It just keeps moving around.
Okay, building this big takes a lot of horsepower, I guess, to put it one way, as far as heating and cooling. How many furnaces does it take to heat this building, and how many air conditioners?
I've heard this number, I'm not remembering it.
This is kind of probably a tough one.
19.
I wouldn't have guessed that much. Altogether?
Okay.
Okay, tell I'm not right there.
Actually,
That would beat that answer.
that is right on.
Really?
She's the president. I think that's
I did hear it, but I couldn't totally recall the number.
Uh,
How many are air conditioned and how many aren't?
Just challenge it up, Dave.
I don't know, I have no
Yeah.
clue.
5 or
Well,
6?
that's one thing, and there's,
Reasons.
the numbers we came up with, or I came up with 14 furnaces and 5 air conditioners. And a couple of them, there's 2 units on top of the gym that are what they call heat packs, and they are air conditioners and furnaces combined.
Yeah.
And not all the areas of the building have air conditioning. All the building is heated, but not all the areas are air conditioned. The office area is air conditioned, the sanctuary is air conditioned, and the gym is air conditioned.
It'd be real nice if that basement was air conditioned.
The rest of the, especially on like, in the classrooms, you go up to the 2nd floor and then go past the library on the south side there. Some of those buildings can get pretty warm on a hot summer day.
Yeah,
Oh,
BBS, BBS.
Last year, BBS.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Out of the 80s.
Okay, how about this? You're in the sanctuary, imagine sitting in the sanctuary. How many different separate light fixtures, fluorescents, LEDs, or whatever, does it take to light the sanctuary?
Let me go count quick.
Pardon?
Let me go count quick.
You can't count that quick.
Yeah, you'll see it in about 10 minutes.
There's a lot.
Think high.
What do you guess, 100?
Actually, it's 98 is what I counted, but that could be off a little bit.
Well done, Scott.
Yeah.
I will share now. Now we want for my kid.
Hey, you promised to Shirley, yeah.
Just give it. Lighting in the sanctuary, you may have noticed that we have some issues in there. And for a while there, you had the bank of fluorescents on the left-hand side up around behind the wooden going across there. They were flickering on and off. Well, we figured out that, Dave figured out, because he's the one that done most of the detective work for that, but that's a conflict between those LED fluorescent tubes in that, on the left-hand side, and the large halogen spotlights that are up on those big beams that support the whole sanctuary. Somewhere there's a conflict between the electricity, and when the halogens are turned up, all of them are turned on and turned all the way bright, because they do have dimmers on them, then it makes those fluorescent tubes flicker. And so Dave figured out by turning off some of the halogens and then turning them down a little bit, we could stop the flickering. But you have to turn on a certain switch in a certain way, and it'll work pretty good. It'd be bright. But the last 2 Sundays, I don't know if you noticed, I did, but it was kind of dark and dreary, and there was no light over the altar. Well, that's because the switch wasn't turned on correctly. There's a button there by the soundboard and everything that you push, and you have to hold it. You can't just push it and let go. You have to push and hold it for like 2 seconds. And that way, it'll come on to where Dave has it set, so the right amount of halogens will come on, and everything else will come on, and it looks a lot better. So that's a pretty good explanation. That came about because in 2017, the trustees replaced the old, I think they were fluorescents or maybe incandescents, can lights with LEDs. And then in the fluorescent tubes along the wall are LEDs. And the halogens are still halogens. And so we did look at getting a bid to replace those halogen spotlights. They're the ones that shine basically on the altar area and across and stuff, down on the pulpit. And in 2017, when the trustees had that done, it wasn't cost effective to change out the halogens to fluorescents because they weren't on long enough. And then we did get a bid to replace those halogens with LEDs, but it was like $4,500 or something like that. So, and that's something we can't do ourselves because it's way up there in the air and you need a lift, and it's really complicated.
You should be an electrician.
Yeah, you should be an electrician, so but thanks to Dave, we've got it kind of figured out so that it's bright enough and we don't have the flickering. So, because the flickering is really annoying.
I didn't notice it till you pointed it out.
Really?
Yeah, and then it drove me nuts.
Yeah. Okay, speaking of lighting and all the stuff, what's our average monthly electric bill?
2,000.
2,000? Audrey says 2,000.
It's 1,600.
Scott says
I was
1,600.
thinking 15.
Go 1,800 then.
Yeah, that is my MO.
Well, this past year, in the 2022-2023 fiscal year, our total bill for the year was about $12,000. No, $14,000. So it's about $1,200 a month.
Oh, that's not bad. That's not bad. For this, I mean, I'm thinking of the seed cleaners though.
So the furnaces are all gas though, aren't they?
Yeah.
Oh,
that's why. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that helps. Well, except how much is our gas?
One thing to keep in mind is, I've heard that PG is gonna get like a 17% rate increase.
Mm.
So that's gonna affect us a little bit. Speaking of gas, how about the gas bill per month?
I have no idea what gas is. I don't have it.
The gas is only for heat, right?
Yes, and the stoves. Or no, the stoves are electric.
All electric.
Are the AC's gas?
No.
No, it's
No, electric.
all the furnaces are. basically the furnaces, I guess, so. And the water, we have a water
water
heater that's, yeah, it's the one, the big water heater for the kitchen.
I don't know.
$521. It's $500. Okay, here's an interesting bit of trivia for you. When we, let's see, 2 years ago, I think it was, we had the problem with the smoke detector. If you look in the sanctuary, look up to the very top, the very peak, there's 4 big lights up there, plus there's a fire sprinkler and a smoke detector. Now, smoke detectors are like that guy right there, little cone-shaped things sticking out of the ceiling. Those are smoke detectors. They have to be tested yearly. And actually, that one just tripped on its own. Sometimes they will, turns out they get dust or something in there, and the alarm company or the outfit that monitors the system for us can tell whether one's tripped because it sends an alarm. So we had to change out that one at the very top of the sanctuary, and that was the one that was causing the problem. So we're trying to figure out how big of lift we needed to get up there. So how many feet do you think it is from the sanctuary floor to the very top where the smoke detector is?
60 feet.
I'm gonna say 70.
A little bit high, it's 48 actually.
Oh, that's it?
Yeah.
Oh, you guys weren't close.
No, I'm sorry, 40, 45.8.
So I think of a football field.
Yeah, yeah. But
If you go over, you don't win.
Okay. Way to change the rules.
we were able to find a lift to get high enough, and so the guy from the company or service outfit, and then they asked me if I wanted to go up with him, and I passed on that. That is a long way up there. Okay, how about our monthly costs for insurance, in building insurance?
$1,200.
Bingo.
Whoa.
Right on.
Whoa.
You were in a couple on that one.
Gotta get on, dude. Okay, we changed gears just a little bit here. We talked earlier about the trustees and their experience and being willing to jump in and do things that, you know, maybe sometimes you'd hire a professional to do, an outside service company or something. And so I just thought we'd give you a few examples of some areas where the trustees have kind of done things themselves. And some of them, I suppose you could say that maybe we should have had an electrician do it, but some of the electrical stuff is really pretty simple. And like Dan Funru, for those of you who know him, he's a retired electrician. And he says, well, you know, what's gonna happen? Either it works or it doesn't work. So if it doesn't work, well, you just figure it out. So he's always been a proponent of trying to do it ourselves, and so we have. And one example of that is the lights in here. We actually bought new LED cam lights. There's 6 of them altogether. And then we got the fluorescent tubes and changed out the fluorescents to LED tubes. And we did that all ourselves. And once you figured out how to do it, it's pretty simple. You just make sure that you take your time and make sure all the wire nuts are tight and everything, and you can get it done. And we spent probably 25, 30 hours altogether doing that. And if you figure an electrician, the last quote we had from Northside, Social Gym lights, replacing gym lights, they figured that at $120 an hour for labor.
Thank you.
The other thing that we've really done, saved the church a fair amount of money, is landscaping outside. That's all done by volunteers. So that the last landscaping company we had in here was charging us $400 a month. And that was mowing the grass and raising up leaves and trimming shrubs and That's probably at least $5,000 a year that we're saving in the church.
And you do it, and Neil does the bulk of it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is it the trustees or Neil?
Yeah, so there's the man right
Well, I'm a
there.
little bit of a yard geek, I guess you could call me. I have kind of something about it. I like having a nice looking yard, so.
My welcome to you.
We voted double his pay,
Yeah,
but what's 2 times 0?
0.
Let's go 0, yeah.
I will
we
say, you
also-
guys are a gift, really. I mean, the
Thank you.
Tuesday crew and you guys do a ton around here and are appreciated.
Very much so.
Thank you.
He did
We
mention the
also-
water bill now, though.
We did the sign out front, on Oak Street there, the reader board.
Yes, it looks very nice.
When we noticed one that, actually, the posts going down into the cement in the ground were starting to rot out, and so we came up with a way to add some new wood on that, and got it leveled up, and then took the sign down and repainted it, and put up the new strips to put the letters in, and just refurbished it so it looks much more presentable than it used to. It's one of the things that we talk about church-wise or field-wise is it's a little bit like curb appeal in real estate. You know, if you drive by a church and they haven't mowed the lawn in 6 months and things are looking a little dilapidated, you gotta go, oh, what's the status of that church, or what's going on inside, or what isn't going on inside. And so that's one of the reasons I kind of have paid so much attention to the landscaping and stuff, because I think that makes a big difference. If people driving by, maybe they're thinking about, well, like, I need to find a church, or I'm thinking about finding a church, and it's curb appeal. Same thing, I think, so that's what it's going to do. An example of the other one that I hope this doesn't come across as tooting our own horn, because I guess the purpose of it is to try and, as I was hoping there would be more people from the congregation here this morning, that what does go on behind the scenes. We got a call one day from Courtney, or an email, so there's no hot water in the sink up in the copy room for the office. And so Dave and I came in and looked at it, and, well, there's no hot water in the copy room, no hot water in the men's restroom, and in the janitor's closet where there's a little 5-gallon water heater in there. And so, we need a new water heater. And that was my response. Let's just buy a new water heater. And Dave said, no, let's check it out a little bit. And he brought his tester, and we tested the heating element, and it was bad. It wasn't, so he showed me how to change the heating element in a water heater, and instead of spending $375 for a new water heater, we spent $18 for a new element. And that's one thing I appreciate about Dave, is that he's
Dave needs a piece of candy for that.
yeah.
Okay, Dave.
That's cheap. Maybe 2.
The other one that is ongoing is on the south side of the building, the second floor and the first floor. Over the last couple of years, we've noticed that some of the windows are starting to deteriorate, and just from being on the south side, exposed to the heating and cooling, expansion and contraction, and the wind blowing. They're starting to lose some pieces, and actually we found one down in the nursery area there. It used to be the nursery with those double doors. There's a window there that part of it had flashing had broken down and came loose, and there's water getting in behind, and actually some of the wood was rotted out. But thankfully, the people that were on the building committee, or I don't know who's responsible for this, there was extra pieces or parts to the windows down in the garage. So Dave and I figured out a way that we can just go in there and take the old window out and basically rebuild it with the pieces that we found in the garage, and then try and pop it back up so that it doesn't leak. But there's a couple others that are doing that too now. We got to work on it. That's the other thing, and it's a matter of just kind of being around. I guess that's one advantage of me being around here a lot doing the yard work. I notice things like that, so.
I can point out that Neil has paint on his hands too, so clearly a doer.
Yep.
Actually, this is a project for Pastor Leo. Thanks, boss. So, anybody have any questions?
Where do you think like the biggest risk to our building is?
Good question. Well, it used to, I think it,
Risk.
we had the major water damage here in the fireside room a couple of years ago. But the fire system now is, or fire sprinkler system is pretty much up to date and everything, so.
The woodpeckers.
That's what I was thinking, the woodpecker fund. That's my favorite fund, by the way.
We've kind of been watching that, and you see them on the north side of the gym. That's where they seem to like to work. It doesn't look like it's getting much worse, but they're there, and it's something sometime down the road we're going to have to address. But Dave and I were looking at it the other day, and it's not getting much worse very fast. So, as far as risk, I guess just the normal risk that you have with a big building like this.
But nothing stands out, like it's just kind of maintenance and nothing
It's
really
just keeping
concerning.
up on stuff before it gets to a point where it causes problems. And there's a lot of stuff we can do, to make the building better and stuff, but it's not in the budget right now, so
Yeah.
you just kind of make things work. And it'd be great to repaint the garage. It's not the same color as the rest of the church. Manuel's house needs some work on the roof. And we talked a lot about redoing his backyard, make it a little more family friendly. Get rid of the cement. I don't know if you've been familiar with his house, but it has the, it used to be an old driveway. And it takes up all his backyard, and Dave and I have talked about getting in there and getting out the cement and putting in some grass and making a lawn, and make it a real backyard, and maybe put in some privacy from the playground so that the kids could play in the back, because they don't really play in the backyard. In fact, they don't really have any place to play because they didn't want to play out front. And so hopefully someday we can make that happen.
Can we add a gate just so they can play on our playground?
There are two gates
Oh, okay.
through the fence that go into the playground.
Good.
Playground, you gotta dodge the deer pellets. If you play on the grass. But that's the other thing, that speaking of the playground, is that I've noticed, you see a lot of people come in, and that gets a lot of use.
It does.
And I always tell people that I happen to run into it, I said, well, we try to be good neighbors, as long as you don't do anything that's gonna cause problems or whatever, we're more than happy to share it.
Do we have work parties scheduled for that yearly or for the playground?
No, that pretty
Tidy
much
it up.
happens. We haven't, well, the work parties that I used to participate in were mostly, ended up being spread in Marcus. And there is out there, I planted some arborvitae shrubs along Manuel's house. And when I planted them, I didn't really realize this problem, but there's about 12 inches of bark dust on top of the soil in some places.
Yeah.
And that's why those arborvitae that I did plant, they died that first summer because we didn't keep them watered enough. Part of the problem was that the water wouldn't soak into the bark dust, it just runs off the top when it gets dry. The work parties, one thing that we have been thinking about is maybe the leaves sometime here. They're a huge issue all over the place. So that might be one issue we could deal with if we had 5 or 6 or 7 or a dozen people. We can take care of all of them on Saturday, but then you gotta wait till pretty much they're all down and before you try to clean them up or, so. That might be one area we could use a work party on. So that's, anybody have any other questions? Well, thank you for coming, guys, and I hope you did learn something new.
Thank you, Neil.
Thank you.
And thanks for the prizes.
Thank you, trustees.
Yes, yes,
Yeah. Thanks a lot.
So we're doing math?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're doing some